Thank you, Mayor. It's always interesting to go later in the conversation because you hear things that are going through your mind and you say, oh, I can't say that now. But sometimes I'll repeat some of them. And, I've been dealing with this issue for about a year now. So this isn't necessarily something that's new to me and something that I've been thinking about just since the last study session. And I have stated at those study sessions, I've toured, marijuana is already being grown in the city of Troy for caregivers. I know because I've seen it with my own eyes. I toured a facility that, again, I've said is a very professional facility. It's not the scary facility that you think it might be. It was legitimately done, and there's no question that there's been a lot of investment of dollars. But I really think about what this community is and what it always strives to be and the people we represent. And I don't think Mike Kerr expected to be quoted so many times tonight, but we talk about service before self. And, we represent all of the families and all of the business owners and everybody in Troy, which is not always easy to do because quite often they're pitted against each other in some way. But you have to look at what provides the best message for the families, the children in this community. And sometimes it's necessary to send a message, especially when there have been conflicting reports. And no, I certainly don't depend on every news article in the city to say what's happening or believe that is the absolute gospel. But when there are quotes in there that maybe are taken out of context, that to me right there says that a clear message isn't being sent. And it's our job to make sure the message is being sent because we set the policy for the city of Troy. And if we are sending a message that either A, we're ambivalent and we're not so worried about drugs, or B, we can't make a decision. Neither of those are what I think this council is about. And I said drugs right there, and I don't want people to think that medical marijuana is something that I consider to be a dangerous drug in that sense. I know there are plenty of people in the city of Troy who are legitimately using marijuana for very serious medical conditions, and it's helping them. And I think a lot of the arguments on the value of medicinal marijuana have passed, or I hope we're getting past some of those. But opting out of this, the opportunity for someone to grow one license to grow up to 1,500 marijuana plants with the possibility of stacking licenses for several thousand plants in our warehouses is not going to prohibit the 2,000 Troy residents from getting the marijuana they need for their cancer treatment, for their multiple sclerosis treatment, any other treatments that they're using it for. But it does send a clear message to the city that we as a council are decisive in the fact that we don't want Troy to be the marijuana capital of Michigan. We don't need to encourage or normalize the mass production of what our citizens believe is a drug. 2 weeks ago we had a study session and there was consensus, and it was, I have a little bit different memory of exactly what the consensus was because I think some of us were very clear that it wasn't so much about a certain amount of time, but I know I at least said study sessions were not the place to be making votes and decisions, and I felt strongly that if we were to put our thumb towards one direction in a study session, it would be pretty clear that we were voting or making a decision. We received letters from somebody in the community who said he was disappointed with us for not making a decision at that study session. And then interestingly today, we got an email from that same person that says, that's chastising us for actually planning to make a decision. So, there's confusion out there in the community. People are very passionate about this issue. But when it comes down to it, for me, I think that the right thing to do is to opt out and send the clear message to our kids, to our adults, to our families, to our schools, and to our businesses that we are not prepared at this time to opt in, and this is not what our community is looking for. It certainly is unfair for those of you that have invested money in this community in the hopes that we would opt in, but I hope by opting out now you can recover any losses that you may have and find a community that is more willing to accept you and welcome you, and you can grow or test or whatever you need to do there and have it a better environment for that. I'm very comfortable with this decision for me. I've thought a lot about it. I've thought about it continuously for the past 2 weeks since the study session, for the several months since it was first introduced, through the 3 study sessions we've had on medical marijuana in our city, through the conversations with hundreds and hundreds of you, emails, phone calls, face-to-face meetings. I'm very certain of where I stand on this at this point, and I want it to be clear that this is not a rash decision. This is something that I've taken very seriously, and I'm glad it's on the table tonight so we can all state our positions and speak as a voice for the city and let's set the message.